Economic crisis. Here's the thing that not many people know. There is an economic crash coming. Whether they like it or not, the US go through economic cycles. There's are times when the economy is good, stock market is green, and life is great. And then there is time when the economy is not so good, which we usually label as a period of recession and depression. This uptrend and downtrend are part of economic cycles. Usually, there are many factors contribute to an economic crash, but usually there are one or two major catalysts that drive the economic market to collapse. Here's a quick reminder. There was a 2008 housing collapse, 2001 dot-com bubble bursting, 1989 saving and loan crisis, and 1973 oil stock market crash. So based on this pattern, you can expect a crash every 10 years or so. The first factor is a student loan crisis. At this time, Americans have over $1.3 trillion in student loan debt, and this number will keep on increasing as the day continue. To give it in perspective, our US national debt is currently at $19.9 trillion at this time, which means student debt is by itself is almost 70% of our national debt. It might not seem like a huge amount on the surface, but give me a minute to explain how this can turn into a snowball effect. If you have student loan like me, we are stuck in a complicated financial trap that is hard to get out. The majority of people go into debt to go to college, to get a good job, to make good money. But they do not know due to the student loan and student loan interest, they will spend majority of their lives working tirelessly to pay off that debt. So how is this going to affect the US economy? It is a real problem because the cost of education is going up and the cost of living expenses also increase yearly. Inflation is also up, while the paid wage, income, and the money we are making are staying pretty much the same. According to EPI, between 2002 and 2012, wages were stagnant or declined for the entire bottom 70% of wage distribution. According to a recent report from the Career Builder, 78% of full-time workers say they live paycheck to paycheck, up from 75% last year. So what would happen if they lose their job? How will they pay back their student loan debt? What will happen to the economy if American students and graduates start default on their student loans? Remember, it is over $1.3 trillion. Remember, federal student loan is a loan from the government, which means you have to pay it back no matter what, even if you declare bankruptcy. The second contributor is the digital revolution and the online market effect like Amazon and eBay. Dozens and dozens of major retail stores like Macy's, American Apparel, Payless Shoes, and Foot Lockers have all announced that they will be closing more stores in 2017 so they can try to compete online. Also, Amazon just bought out Whole Foods recently. With Amazon Go idea in testing phase, you can also expect grocery store to be in trouble next. So how is this going to affect the US economy? The first group of people that will be impacted by this will be the employees that work at the store. Sunday will be out of job when the store closed down. Retail cashier and salespersons are the two largest job categories in the country, with more than 8 million workers between them. Sarah already mentioned earlier on that more than half American families are living paycheck by paycheck. Overall, 71% of all US workers say they are now in debt, up from 68% a year ago. If they lose their retail jobs, and grocery jobs are the next to go, more than 8 million workers might face long-term unemployment due to lack of higher skill and education. They then have to depend on the government for help, which put a stress on the financial department. The third factor is that older people don't have enough money to retire. Baby boomers and Generation X are trying to retire, but they cannot. Research found that 1/3 Americans have no retirement saving at all. $0 saved for their retirement, 1/3 of them. Based on last year's Time article survey, more than half of Generation X 35 to 54 have less than $10,000 saved for retirement. 28% of baby boomers and seniors over the age of 55 don't have retirement saving. An estimated 21% of married Social Security recipients and 43% of single recipients 65 and over rely on their monthly benefit check to provide at least 90% of their income, which is far more than what the average worker should expect out of the program. The problem with expecting to live off Social Security check is that it is hardly enough to survive with today's economy, inflation, and increased living expenses. A report released in recent years stating that when you factor in typical out-of-pocket costs not covered by Medicare, like dental and vision services, caretaker, nursing home, the average healthy retired 65-year-old couple today is looking at ranging from thousands to hundreds of thousands in healthcare costs in their retirement years. So, how did this affect the US economy? 1 out of every 4 65-year-olds today will live past the age of 90. More than half of older generation claim they are more afraid of outliving their saving than dying. Given the cost of retirement and lack of saving, many elders have no choice but to extend their career and work longer hours to save extra money for retirement. Almost 1/4 of Americans think they won't be able to retire until their age of 70 or older. Even worse, small percentage of Americans don't think they will ever manage to retire at all. This push the retirement age to later and directly affect the new workforce of newly graduate millennials and Generation Z. This will affect job opportunity and advancement in company due to differences in experiences between older generation and freshly college graduates. For those seniors who are not able to work longer, they have to rely on federal government for assistance to survive in their later years. The problem is that the Social Security, Medicare, and pension might not be enough to cover everything. Also, as more seniors retire, for these senior government assistance programs, where do we get the money to cover the healthcare and living expenses? So now we have the problem that new college graduates can't find jobs, student debt and national debt are on the rise, retail and supermarket jobs are at high risk of decline and replaced by automatic machines, older generation that can work is working longer and may never retire, and those that cannot work have to rely on government program benefit to survive in their later years. These problems are putting a lot of financial stress on the US government. And eventually we have to ask ourselves, how are we going to fix all this before they blow out control? Hey again, I hope you guys liked the video. What are your thoughts on the next US economic crisis? Let me know by commenting down below. Thanks for watching. For more video, click here to subscribe and I will see you again on the next video.